Hey everyone, Road Breach here, and today we're taking a look at the Transformers Botbots cartoon. I've already spoken about the toy line and went over the trailer a couple weeks ago, and now that the actual cartoon is out, we can now see how well the show works. Disclaimer: since I want this to be a complete review of the first season, I will be repeating some of my points from my video on the trailer. I apologize for any of my talking points you have previously heard from my previous video on the same topic. You could also consider this your spoiler warning as well. With that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. Before we talk about the animation, let's talk about the theme song. The only theme songs that I feel like have had any effort put into them for the past few years were Rescue Bots and Rescue Bots Academy. Cyberverse and Transformers Robots in Disguise either had awful vocals, or were just instrumentals. To be fair, Cyberverse isn't bad, but when compared to Transformers Animated, or Transformers Cybertron, or even Season 2 of Generation 1, it definitely leaves a little bit to be desired. My hopes aren't too high for this, but hit me with what you got, Botbots.
When Energon struck along nearby, we became more than meets the eye. We're everyday objects, motionless parts. We burst the left to let the party start. We could be anything, like a hot dog or ice cream. Mischief without a care. Secret robots everywhere.
What a pleasant surprise. It's a lyrical theme song, it sounds good, plus it's original. I'm not saying that the Transformers theme songs that were basically covers of the originals were bad or anything, but it's been a long time since we've got something like this. It's incredibly refreshing that we got a theme song that's original, well-made, and lyrical. This feels like a good start. Now onto the elephant in the room, the animation. The animation is pretty good. The characters move fairly naturally. Bergatron's helmet and most other Transformers series wouldn't have brow movement like this, but whenever the show calls for him to emote in an energetic or extreme manner, that part of his helmet will warp in order to show whatever emotion the show calls for him to show. The same can be said for the other characters. The characters will go off-model when the show calls for them to go off-model, which is very much appreciated, because it helps elevate the humor, at least to the degree that you would expect for kids show humor. However, a lot of the animation budget seemed to have gone into lip syncing. The characters aren't completely static when they talk. Sometimes the characters will blink when another character is talking, but a lot of the times the characters will just stand still without any movement. But even though the characters are kind of static when talking to one another, there are some scenes that make up for this, like the fun action scenes. Let's talk about character design. Many of the actual Transformers characters have creative designs. Even though this series is based on the toy line, many of the characters' appearances in the cartoon are different from how they actually look as toys. Here's Bergatron as a toy, and here's what he looks like in the cartoon. Pretty different, right? Here's Spudmuffin as a toy, and here's how he looks in the cartoon. Is this even the same character? Here's Bonsai as a toy, and here she is in the cartoon. Her scar isn't even over the same eye. Here's Frostferatu as a toy, and here he is in the cartoon. In the cartoon, he's got more of a generic vampire motif. Lastly, here's Kick Me as a toy, and here she is in the cartoon. They didn't even get the gender right. This isn't even the first time a licensed character has been gender bent in a cartoon on Netflix. It's not even the second time either, although there was a narrative and thematic reason for that. But to be fair, these changes are fine. There are some characters that have dull color schemes in the toy line that are given more vibrant colors in the cartoon. Spudmuffin being turned into this jacked burly man-bot is pretty clever, because the name Spudmuffin is a spoof on the term studmuffin. Castle, define studmuffin.
A studmuffin is a man who is seen as sexually attractive, typically with well-developed muscles.
Exactly, so making him this buff, muscular bot like this is fine. But the fact they couldn't get the gender right with some of the characters makes me believe giving these guys a cartoon was an afterthought. And before you say, but Road Breach, this show was made as an afterthought, that's not an excuse to skimp out on some basic research. They should have made the genders of the characters more obvious with the toys. They should have given the female characters some visual shorthands, like lipstick or eyelashes. I shouldn't have to look it up to figure out the sex of these things. And before you call me a sexist, you're probably the same person that thinks that women shouldn't be allowed to look like women.
Something as simple as putting blank on a space rat can harm people. Something as simple as putting blank on a space rat can harm people.
Sorry about the tangent, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I do appreciate that they make the genders of the characters more obvious in the TV show. However, there are a lot of characters here that don't look like robots, let alone Transformers. Most of the characters have these black and white eyes, which is typically what you'd give to organic creatures like humans. But it's not just facial features that make the robots in disguise not look like robots. Bonsai especially. She's dressed in a martial arts gi, and all the Botbots' hands aren't drawn in a way to emphasize the fact that they're supposed to be robots. There are Botbots that do have gauntlets and segmented bodies, but you could also make the case that it looks like they're wearing armor. The only Transformers cartoon that I know goes out of its way to make the robots in disguise not look like robots is Beast Machines. In Beast Machines, the Maximals didn't look a damn thing like robots, let alone Transformers. There are two human characters we get to see on screen, Dave and Agent Wagner. The designs for the human characters are pretty good, when they decide to actually draw some, of course. If I showed you some characters from Total Drama, you'd know that they're from Total Drama. If I showed you some human characters from here, you probably wouldn't mistake them from being in any other show. I say this because human characters in media are very common, and I've seen many different ways humans could look in cartoons. As for the backgrounds are pre-rendered CGI, and upon further consideration, this works fine with the character designs. But some assets they use in conjunction with the character designs don't work as well, and have noticeably different art styles. Like these dolls in episode 4 when Bonsai goes to the dark side of them all, or these mannequins in episode 5 when Dimlet falls in love with a mannequin, who turns out to be a Botbot, which was a pretty good twist, I'll admit. I understand wanting to save money on production, but this doesn't look right. And when the Botbots transform, their alternate forms have more detail than their robot forms. They even use live-action pictures sometimes. There doesn't seem to be much consistency when it comes to the show's visuals. But I'll give it this, the vectors that they use for the characters are much more high quality than the ones that they used in the Hello Neighbor cartoon. Yeah, I'll bet you completely forgot about Hello Neighbor, let alone that it even had a cartoon. But I digress. But what about the cinematography? The shot composition is very standard for a show like this. The camera angle does change sometimes to keep things interesting, but I quickly noticed that some of these scenes use the same background and just crop out everything else to make it look different. However, one technique that I appreciate that they make use of is when one character is talking to another, they blur out the character that's closer to the proverbial camera. I think this is a good detail that makes these scenes feel more dynamic. This also might not have anything to do with the cinematography, but there's this one moment that I found pretty funny when Bonsai is tracking this trail of drips. I don't care who you are, that's funny. But even though I've complained about the animation and cinematography this far, I will say that the voice acting is one aspect of the show that is really good. The actors are really giving it their all to make you feel the emotions of the characters.
There's a jock squad? A team of me's? Thought alone just made me hit my daily step count. Never mind, false alarm.
Wait, some sort of metal jaws of death!
Spud Muffin! Ulf! Did you miss me? Of course you did, but I'm back! Yay!
Don't yay us. Total jerk move you just pulled. Revealing yourself to a flesh creature? Unforgivable!
You are the last bot I'd ever expect to give away our secret. What have you become, Bergie?
You spent your night trying to stop Dave so we'd have a good prom? Even after I wasn't so nice to you?
Sir, you're the one who said a good friend would never be a jerk.
Maybe I haven't been a good friend, Dimlet. Thanks for never giving up.
Many of the actors have done voice work for other cartoons before this. Christian Potenza, the voice of Clogstopper, even played Chris McLean from the Total Drama series.
How does it know? How does the map know where we are?
Yo! We're coming at you live from Camp Wawanakwa, somewhere in Muskoka, Ontario. I'm your host, Chris McLean.
Now let's talk about the comedy. I've been told in my trailer analysis that people compare the show to Teen Titans Go, and I disagree with that sentiment. Botbots does have some things in common with Teen Titans Go, like an egotistical leader, an unhygienic idiot, and a cool-headed no-nonsense female. However, Botbots is something that TTG sorely lacked, and that would be character development. Burgertron dismisses the ideas of his peers, but things don't go his way, and he gets taken down a peg when he thinks he's above them. Burgertron takes the blame for breaking
the sacred rule of the law.
no bot may ever, I repeat, ever reveal to the flesh beings that we exist.
He even takes accountability for his actions. He apologizes for being a jerk to his friends, and he becomes a better bot by the end of the season. Bonsai wants to find her squad and ends up finding out that the other plants were in the dark side of the mall, and when she gets there, she ends up accepting the fact that the other plants didn't come to life, and learns that friends aren't the ultimate source of happiness. Kick Me learns emotional balance, and Dimlet gets out of his comfort zone multiple times, like when he goes into the Halloween store despite being terrified, and when he saved Dave from hurting himself when he tries another plan to catch the Botbots.
But Road Breach, you just spoke about the characters. You said you would talk about the comedy, but you just spent the last 9 sentences talking about the characters.
I was getting to that. Teen Titans Go's characters are terrible characters, but they try to make up for that with their comedy. Kids show comedy, in my opinion, is very watered down nowadays. But there are a couple of jokes that I liked in this show, like when Clockstopper tells the Lost Spots about when he overheard Dave talking to his mom.
Yeah, about that, I was in the bathroom earlier just minding my own business when I overheard Dave doing his business. By which I mean talking to his mom on the phone. Don't be gross.
There's also a joke about Game Over being replaced by a third-party controller when Burgertron's being accused of getting Sprinkleberry Donut eaten.
He'll melt you, or he'll steam you. He'll replace you with a third-party controller.
Although to be fair, they are better than the official ones. One of the mistakes Teen Titans Go makes is using running gags like saying one word over and over or acting obnoxious. One cliche of kids' show humor is characters being so stupid you wonder why they're not dead yet. Like Dave, for instance, thinking that expiration dates were just suggestions.
And now for something completely different.
Another mistake made by Teen Titans Go is being a reboot of an action show to a pure comedy. Transformers Botbots may be connected to a big IP, but unlike Teen Titans Go, Botbots doesn't really have a predecessor. But even though Transformers Botbots doesn't have a predecessor, they do reference other Transformers media.
To all have fun! And he should be as free to be here as we Botbots are. In fact, maybe freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
I'm buying that deluxe vinyl Mega Shogun Raptor figurine I always wanted.
Botbots also has continuity between episodes. There may be gaps in between episodes that are brought up in exposition, but every episode usually has a conflict that can be resolved within an 11-minute runtime. And while we're on the topic of runtime, there's something about this cartoon that I wasn't expecting. Almost every episode is actually 2 episodes. I remember this being something cartoons did in the 2000s when I was a child. I say almost every episode because the finale is a 2-parter, and when it comes to 2-parters, I prefer this one because it doesn't insult my intelligence or have a character that they miserably failed to make sympathetic. Being a villain isn't an excuse. Hell, I'll go so far as to say Spudmuffin's motive is less asinine than Thanos' motivation.
Spud? You didn't do it, did you?
Of course I did! Burgertron couldn't lead the Hunger Hubs. It needed to be me. But everyone assumed, because he was a burger and I was fries, that he was the main course and I was the side dish. Fries can be a main course too!
And let's talk about the music. I've already spoken about the main theme, but the background music should also get a special mention because it's genuinely good. Especially this tune right here when the Lost Bots are looking for clues on Sprinkleberry Donut's disappearance.
Oh, I found something! Over here!
Signs of a struggle.
They also try to do musical numbers, which can range from decent.
So I'm just a robot made of meat, and your inside's a citrus sweet. But you know that we can't be beat on the Box Drop dance floor. Tell me love can just open the door
to bad.
The mall, Dave's in love with the mall. 'Cause wife's always handing me lemons. It's handing him the lemons. I'm just eating all the lemons. He's eating all the lemons. And the lemons taste so sad.
It would have been great had Transformers Botbots had the same musical prowess as My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. The best actual song is in episode 5, which is technically 10 if you take into account that most of the episodes are double episodes, on the Bot Prom dance floor. A good chunk of the musical numbers are rap numbers, my favorite being the one in episode 8, technically 16, the Science Alliance.
Yeet, yeet, dropping the beat. Science Alliance, feeling the heat. Refracted convection, left without protection. Our climate's gonna burn if you don't stop messing. Temperature, climate, dying. All these clueless bots, they be denying.
We just want to party. Leave us be.
Not when your party hurts you and me.
But won't all this heat just go away?
The laws of thermodynamics don't play that way.
While we're on the topic of meeting, let's talk about Generation Z slang and kids shows. I was born in 2002, so you could definitely consider me a Zoomer. I don't mind if kids shows use slang or try to relate to the youth. Slang and memes can die out in a matter of weeks, but there are some timeless words like cool. But there are also words like swag and memes like the duck face that people haven't used since 2013 to 2014. Transformers Botbots using slang that's relatively new is perfectly fine in my opinion. And they don't use slang every sentence like da boom crew or rocket power. One thing that I liked was when the Botbots were working on bot vids, Dimlet takes a jab at people who tack on the word challenge to anything.
You just erased my brain. What were you doing in that video?
The standing completely still challenge. Everybody also loves stuff that ends in challenge.
One thing I really didn't like was when they use emojis. I do use emojis from time to time because I do find it more convenient than typing out emoticons, but thankfully they don't use emojis in every episode. But I do find it kind of cringy to say the least. Also a lot of things that had me asking questions as I was writing the script. The premise of the show is that an Energon cloud hit a shopping mall, and the objects inside became the Botbots. But it's also explained that there are some normal products that weren't turned into the Botbots in episode 8, Scanned Out. This has me confused, because if the Energon cloud got into the mall and turned the items inside into Botbots, why did it stop there? Why does a video arcade cabinet become the same size as a computer mouse? Why aren't these arcade cabinets affected? Why did the cloud affect just the head of a mannequin? Why is the dark side of the mall still accessible if it's abandoned? Are they going to demolish that part of the mall? Why and how did the Energon cloud affect food and objects that had no circuitry at all? These are some of the questions I had about this world. I also have a theory about this other flashlight bot whose name is Smartlit and Agent Wagner. Agent Wagner and Smartlit have the same voice.
Negative. I'm a secret agent from an undercover squad that protects Botbots from threats to the mall. Agent Wagner, Sector 7. We investigate appearances of unknown technology.
And it's revealed that the Game Master is Brocco Lonely in the finale. So that makes me believe that Smartlit is actually Agent Wagner. Plus, Agent Wagner believes that Dave actually saw little robots. So, either there's more Energon clouds that created more Botbots in other places on Earth, the other Transformers characters exist in this world, or she's related to Agent Fowler from Transformers Prime. Dave is also portrayed as being pretty stupid, and he mentions that he told multiple people about the Botbots and they didn't believe him. And even though we didn't see much of Agent Wagner, she seems like a fairly intelligent character that wouldn't believe something as far-fetched as little shape-shifting robots unless there was hard evidence to prove otherwise. Think about it. I highly doubt she'd be in this position if she was as stupid as Dave, and just blindly believed anything that somebody said without hard evidence to prove it. But hey, that's just a theory. A fan theory. And while we're here, I guess we could squeeze in a new episode of...
Road Breacher's Goofy Comments!
I'm delicious.
Voice is delicious.
Locate target. We must only detect motion.
Duck designed these things.
Pliers, hammer, clamp, pineapple wrap, screwdriver.
Yes! I cheeseburger! I plunger!
And I Carman. Overall, this show is good. Transformers Botbots feels very different from your typical Transformers cartoon. While the animation and comedy are nothing special, the musical numbers fail to impress, and some of the questions go unanswered, Botbots' strength comes from its plot and characters, as well as being different from other Transformers shows. People may compare it to Teen Titans Go, but it ends up being way better in pretty much every way. If you have a Netflix subscription, then I'd recommend it. Thanks for watching, and gotta zoom.